So, friends, it's a dark day for the quality of the federal judiciary, with Emil Bove being given the thumbs up by Senate Republicans to join a federal appeals court after Bove was credibly accused of telling DOJ lawyers that they should tell federal courts F you and defy court orders. And in a related story, Attorney General Pam Bondi seemed to take Bove's advice by refusing to comply with a federal court order directing her to inform the court if the Department of Justice had contacted Epstein's victims before filing a motion to unseal the grand jury transcripts in the Epstein case. You know, friends, the Department of Justice is a flailing and failing institution. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, it's a dark day for the federal judiciary and for the nation, because this guy, Emil Bove, Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney, and someone who apparently believes it's okay to tell federal court judges, fuck you, we're not complying with your orders, was just given the thumbs up by most, not all, but most Senate Republicans. Let's start with the new reporting. This from NBC News. Headline: Republicans confirm former Trump lawyer Emil Bove to lifetime appeals court perch. Senate Republicans backed Bove despite allegations from 3 whistleblowers about his conduct as an official at the Justice Department. And that article begins: the Republican-led Senate voted Tuesday to confirm Emil Bove as a judge on the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, granting a lifetime appointment to President Donald Trump's former personal lawyer. He was confirmed 50-49 with only Republican votes as they set aside allegations from 3 whistleblowers about the conduct of Bove, a Justice Department official, which included accusations that he flouted laws and Justice Department procedures. Just 2 Republicans voted with Democrats against the nomination: Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer slammed Bove as being as far from the mainstream as any judicial nominee we have considered in this chamber. He is a Trumpian henchman, the extreme of the extreme of the extreme. He is openly hostile to the rule of law. He is fundamentally opposed to democratic norms. He lacks the temperament to serve as a jurist, Schumer recently said on the Senate floor. And above all, Mr. Bove is religiously obedient to Donald Trump. Shame on you, Schumer told Republicans after the vote. This is a dark, dark day. An initial Justice Department whistleblower, Erez Ruvini, told Congress via his lawyers that Bove told subordinates at the Department of Justice that they might have to ignore court orders blocking Trump's deportation efforts, comments that concerned Ruvini. It allegedly occurred the day before the administration carried out deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. That allegation, which a second whistleblower echoed, relayed at a meeting on March 14, at which Bove warned that planned deportations could be blocked by a court order, with Ruvini's attorneys writing in the disclosure that, quote, Bove stated that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts F you and ignore any such court order. Ruvini's allegations were critical for Senator Murkowski. Quote, I don't think that somebody who has counseled other attorneys that you should ignore the law, you should reject the law. I don't think that that individual should be placed in a lifetime seat on the bench, Murkowski told NBC News. A third whistleblower, who approached senators with a separate allegation against Bove more recently, had provided evidence suggesting Bove misled senators during his confirmation hearing in discussing his handling of the Justice Department's dismissal of the case against New York Mayor Eric Adams. Two sources familiar with the matter told NBC News. Ahead of the vote, Senators Adam Schiff and Cory Booker wrote a letter asking the Justice Department's acting inspector general whether it is investigating Bove. Quote, as the Senate approaches a final vote this week on Mr. Bove's nomination to serve as United States Circuit Judge for the Third Circuit, it is imperative that senators exercise their constitutional duty of advice and consent with full knowledge of Mr. Bove's actions, Senators Schiff and Booker wrote. We therefore request that you clarify for senators whether your office is undertaking any investigations of or related to Mr. Bove. In the event these whistleblower complaints and other reports have not already prompted investigations by your office, we urge you to undertake a thorough review of these disclosures and allegations, they added. So, friends, let's hope the Inspector General digs in and conducts a full, thorough, apolitical investigation into whether Bove lied to senators anywhere along the way. Let's hope that the rule of law, not to mention karma, is not yet done with Emil Bove. And now, turning to a related story, it looks like Attorney General Pam Bondi, in substance, kind of told a federal court judge, F you, in, of all things, the Epstein case. Okay, friends, let me set this one up. As you undoubtedly already know, Attorney General Pam Bondi filed a motion asking that the Epstein grand jury transcripts be unsealed so she could disclose them publicly. Now, of course, because we're not foolish, because we're not gullible, once Donald Trump demanded the release of the Epstein transcripts and Pam Bondi filed a motion seeking the release of the Epstein transcripts, we knew that there would be nothing in the Epstein grand jury transcripts that would hurt Donald Trump, because Pam Bondi knew what was in there. And if there was anything in there damaging to Donald Trump, do you really think Donald Trump would have demanded the release and Pam Bondi would have filed a motion seeking the release? I mean, come on, folks. Now, the first thing I noticed when I looked at this midnight filing, responding to some court directives about what the court wanted to know before the court could resolve this motion, could rule on whether to release the transcripts or not. The first thing I noticed was that it was signed by political types, political appointees. I would call them political hacks, people who are loyal to Donald Trump, not loyal to the rule of law or the American people. Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, another one of Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorneys, and Jay Clayton, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Not a single actual line prosecutor, AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney, the people who actually do the work in court day in and day out, not a single career public servant, apolitical attorney. No, all political appointees, I would call them political flunkies. Those are the only ones who were willing to put their name on this motion, this filing that came in, I think, 2 minutes before midnight, right before the deadline that the judge had set. And the judge, in no uncertain terms, had directed the Department of Justice to answer certain questions, to provide certain information to the court. That would be a court order. And friends, I want to hone in on just one aspect of this new 9-page court filing by Pam Bondi. It appears on page 2. The court directed the government. Let me just translate that from legalese into English. The court ordered Pam Bondi, the government, the Department of Justice, to state whether, before filing the instant motion, counsel for the government, the DOJ, reviewed the Maxwell grand jury transcripts and whether the government provided notice to the victims of the motion to unseal. So friends, can I repeat that just for emphasis? The judge ordered, directed the government, the DOJ, Pam Bondi, to state 2 things. 1, whether the government had reviewed the grand jury transcripts before filing the motion to unseal, and whether the government, the DOJ, had notified the victims before filing the motion to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And here is Pam Bondi's reply. Before filing the motions to unseal, relevant counsel for the government, the DOJ, reviewed the Epstein and Maxwell grand jury transcripts. Bully for you, Pam. You actually complied with one part of the court order. You answered the question. You stated what the court directed you to state. But here comes the second part, friends. In addition, the government, DOJ, has now provided notice to all but one of the victims who are referenced in the grand jury transcripts at issue in this motion. In other words, F you, Judge, I know you ordered me to state whether DOJ had notified the victims before we filed this motion to unseal, which could directly impact and potentially harm them. But I'm not answering that question, even though you directed me to state my answer to that question. Instead, I'm going to duck and dodge and decline to comply with your order. And I'm simply going to say that, well, now we've provided notice to all but one of the victims. So friends, that might seem minor, that might seem like a quibble, but it's not. In substance, it's a direct FU to the judge. When you are directed, when you are ordered as a DOJ attorney to provide the court with information, to state to the court whether you notified the victims before you filed the damn motion that's going to impact them potentially the most, did you notify them? I'm ordering you to state whether you notified them, and Pam Bondi wouldn't even answer that question. Instead, she went around it and said, well, we've notified them now, almost all of them. I'll tell you, friends, if I'm the judge at the next court hearing, I am going to call Pam Bondi and the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York to the carpet and say, do you realize you defied my order? Do you realize you refused to answer the question I directed you to answer, and you still haven't answered it? You dodged it and said, well, now we've notified most of the victims, so let me ask you again and direct you to answer and comply with my order. Did you notify the victims before you filed this motion? Because, the Crime Victims' Rights Act is actually a thing. It gives victims rights. And, frankly, even if this exact situation isn't covered by the letter of the CVRA, the Crime Victims' Rights Act, it sure is covered by the spirit, and you have an obligation to victims to notify them before you take a dramatic step that may end up harming them and re-victimizing them. So I'll ask you again, did you notify them before you filed this motion? I wonder if whoever it is that's standing up in court, whatever Donald Trump flunky is actually appearing in the case, will answer the question truthfully. If not, it'll just be another big FU to the court. But But, you know, that's kind of what at least one former DOJ official, now a federal judge on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, Emil Bove, believes is appropriate conduct for DOJ lawyers. But it's not. Take it from a former career DOJ lawyer, because to the overwhelming majority of DOJ lawyers, justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.